What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of My Ego Up Fantasy. Today we will be looking at the EPL Season 16 Group B. So as you can see, I didn't do too hot in the first group, neither in Ego nor HLTV. Biggest problems, of course, Navi did worse than expected. Just not the performances you'd want from Electronic and Bit. And then NIP was a lot worse. I ended up just having Plopsky on the bench for the entire thing. I just didn't, after the first real games, I didn't have too much faith in Plopsky or NIP. Magisk was fine, and obviously Zaibu was really good, and I had him as captain all event long as well. So that was at least good. But mostly, I just want to get this stage done with and go into next group and hope for better luck. Of course, clear, and I'll use this as my baseline, as always, for both my HLT videos. I'll talk about the group just in general. FaZe are the favorites of the group, but of course, like last group, FaZe might still struggle. Like Navi struggled, only winning 2 out of 5 series, still qualifying. Luckily for them, but I would say this group might be a bit easier in my eyes. I think there's less teams capable of pulling off the upset. So I would say last group, Fnatic and Spirit always were like teams that have enough firepower and are on a good enough level that they could actually manage to win against these teams. I think the problem with Group B is going to be that MIBR and Forte Win probably aren't on that level. I would say I have a hard time seeing, for example, MIBR or definitely also FTW doing enough in this event. The change in MIBR is bringing in Henny instead of Cello, who moved to Imperial. I don't think it's a pretty lateral move, I'd say. So I'd say that FaZe is probably gonna struggle a lot less than Navi. I would say FaZe are probably gonna win the group. If you follow me on Twitter and some of the other fantasy accounts on Twitter, you'll have seen what I think are the top 3 teams who are gonna make it through, and I'm actually gonna exclude G2 from that. I think sometimes you just get this gut feeling that you kind of wanna follow. In this case, I would really say that G2 not qualifying is a lot more likely than a lot of people seem to think, at least. I still think on paper they are a stronger team than Big or Outsiders. But then again, there's a lot of volatility. It's still a very new lineup. We've seen a lot of struggles from especially Hooksy and also JKS. The problem is that it's just not a cohesive unit still. And in this kind of long format, I think there's real potential for that to show. And for them to have troublesome maps, troublesome series, which could leave them outside the top 3 as well. Instead, who I think is going to make it through is Big and Outsiders. So Big, first of all, because I think they are, alongside FaZe, a pretty stable team. I would say it's probably the most stable teams. I think we can usually get what we expect of Big. They're going to play with... so have they played actually with Keto yet? Or is this their debut with Keto instead of Tizian? So Tizian didn't play here in Blast. Okay, yeah. So in Blast, it was already Keto, and I mean, it wasn't the greatest showing, but of course against G2, for example, as well. But it's a while back, and it wasn't actually pretty convincing for G2 now that I look at it, but still I still have, for some reason, some pretty high hopes for Big. I think if I'm wrong about who the top 3 teams are, I think it's going to be G2 instead of Outsiders and just the kind of favorites pulling through, but I have this sneaking suspicion about Outsiders. either way, I think Big should have it to make it out of this group. I think they're gonna show at least these lower tier teams. They're gonna win against them, and then I think they're gonna pull off one of the wins against these three, even FaZe maybe, and that should be enough for them to make it to the next stage. Last but not least, outsiders. I just think they have really a good caliber of players here, like a lot of firepower. Veteran IGL who's seen a lot, he's been into major finals and such. A lot of potential in this lineup that we are kind of yet to see, of course. But also, it's not like they've played really horribly when we see them. I think they're a team that's very capable of making the top 3 here. So I'm willing to gamble on that a little. I think it's going to be FaZe and Big, and then outsiders as third. And that's going to, of course, probably be represented here in my picks. So interesting, actually. So wait a second, are all teams here even? If MIBR with FaZe, G2, Big. Yeah, it's just a low. It just seems like a low amount of players. It also seems like a low, like, pick percentages for these players. That's kind of interesting. And also the prices are kind of, you know, I guess the prices are fine. Like Simple was 200 and something K. I guess it's fine. Yeah. So m0NESY for 160 at 15% pick rate. I'm not surprised about that. I think m0NESY, even if at least for Ego app, m0NESY is gonna have room to shine. I think m0NESY for 160 just has to be a buy every time. Like, even if we don't think G2 makes it through, I think m0NESY still was the MVP in Blah, like the highest rated player in the last event. It just makes too much sense to pick him. If we have like Fame and Kiekert and Norbert at 138 as well. So I think I'm gonna go double outsiders just for the budget picks. I mean, what are the ratings around these players? Past 3 months. I don't understand why Norbert is that cheap. Like Norbert is like same price as Carrigan. I think Norbert might be a pick as well. And then probably Fame alongside him, like the cheapest guys. It could also be Jame instead of Fame. That's gonna be troublesome in player comps. But yeah, I wanna go double FaZe for sure, and then I wanna have. Is it a permabench thing? Wait, so basically it doesn't at least have to. It could be a permabench thing. It's fine to have a permabench, and with a 110k player in Hooksy, I think it makes sense to have a permabench. One thing with this kind of format as well with Big is that I don't think big players usually have like the highest ratings. So I kind of see the point in not going for big players, because FaZe players usually, there's some standout players that you want to have in your lineup for sure. We have too much money though, straight up. Like, we can go for this and we can not have Fame. Like, if we have permabench Hooksy, which I think just has to be a good idea here. Oh yeah, that's how. Yeah. That's why I'm confused, because Plopsky was one of the cheapest players last group. I did want to go permabench, but then I was like, I might sub in Plopsky when they have an easy opponent, just because Plopsky is good enough in my opinion for that. But the idea was to have a permabench player, so permanently benching Hooksy here is just fine. I think Fame's the player I probably don't want to have out of these. I might just be able to not have outsiders. Like I could go for that. Because of Hooksy, we actually have the cash for like all of these good players. I can't go Nico or Hunter because I have the Hooksy, but I think that's fine. I'm not expecting great things from G2 again. I can go Tubsen. I mean, I just have way too much money here. These player prices are very, very weird to me. But is it like 181? Double face, like if I go for like Norbert and not Hooksy, I still have money for like, this is kind of crazy amounts of money that I have in this event, that we have in this event, I mean. And I have Geekert here, or Fame, who I think is probably a better pick. I don't know like how player prices are calculated every time, like in Ego, because there's some weird ones at times. For example, I don't know why Geekert is now it's like 1.0. He's for some reason more expensive than Fame, who's 1.04 last 3 months. Last month hasn't played. You go like events. He had a really bad cologne, but then again, it seems like all of Outsiders had a pretty damn bad cologne. But like, yeah, we could, I don't know. I mean, getting Faven wouldn't be bad either. Why do I have so much money here? That's so weird. Like, I have all the money in the world. I think maybe you sell Twists, buy Rops. 167, who can we get for that? Keto. Keto makes no sense. Jame. Norbert Monesi. If I go Hooksy. We can not have Norbert, and we can have, like, it's just way too much money, all in all. It's like Flit the points guy for them. Flit is like the highest rated player for Outsiders, so if I feel like, alongside like Shame, I guess. So if I want to have the, he had a terrible cologne, but still. I mean, if I wanna buy broke big Outsiders G2, I mean, I can't skip a 160k Monesi. I think it's pretty criminal to do that. If I now sell you, there's no cash for anyone better. I can actually sell Rops and buy Twists back, and then we can have Hooksy. And now it makes a good amount of sense, this lineup. Like, I have the highest rated players, except for Monesi, out of all these teams, like 2 from FaZe, of course. Then big Outsiders, and also then Monesi to round it out, because he's just a points kind of guy. And then we have Hooksy to warm the bench. I think that's probably the lineup, because yeah, I just don't really see a reason to play around with substitutes. I'm happy with this lineup. I just have really good players from teams, so I expect to do well here. Captain, who is playing who first? That actually matters here. So like matches, First game is going to be phased FTW, so we have to go for either Brokey or Twists. This is one of those situations where it might be, I think a lot of people are just going to captain Brokey, but I'm going to try and be a bit different. I think it's very whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter, but if most people are picking Brokey for their captain, and I think it's 50-50 who's going to have like higher points, then I think I should just captain Twists instead. So basically, because I think people are underrating Twist captain pick instead of Brokey captain pick, I'm going to go for Twist's captain pick, if that makes any sense. I haven't used my soul cells yet. When we look at the global standings, we are pretty far away from first place. First place was this kind of lineup. I wasn't that far away. Like, first place was still a simple lineup, which is kind of nutty. Like over 200k for like 42 points, and Zaiwu was way less for a lot more points. But it was a Zaiwu Spinks thing. And then Messi is probably not a bad pick for this. And then the permabench Plopsky. I'm not against this. This seems like a pretty good lineup that he had. What does he have now? Permabenched player. But why, if you're permabenching someone, shouldn't you just always have Hooksy as the permabench? Unless you want to go double G2. But I don't know if double G2 is worth it for the not having Hooksy money for other players. He has like only Thompson in common with me, but I think it's still a decent lineup for sure. Yeah, I don't think I have much else to talk about here. I'll be posting a HLTV fantasy video for Group B pretty soon. Also, of course, I always forget to talk about this, but and I won't probably say it in every video, but if you haven't made an account on Ego App Fantasy, please feel free to use my affiliate link in the description down below. You will help me, and you will get to make lineups on Ego, which can win you great prizes. So if you'll enjoy watching CSGO, playing fantasy CSGO, definitely worth a watch. Either way, thank you guys for watching. Remember to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.